Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling. I really appreciate you guys continuing to watch the videos and take a little bit of time out of your day to do so. Always much appreciated. Today I'm going to give you guys, we're going to talk about shaky heads, and we're going to talk about the two biggest mistakes that people make with their rigging on their shaky heads. It makes a big difference on how many bites you get and landing the bites that you do get. And out of all the shaky head fishing that I've done, I love shaky head fishing, guys, because to me, it's sort of my, it's my alternative to drop shots. I don't like fishing drop shots. I fish them when I have to, but I love to fish a shaky head. And there's two things that I found about them that will really help you out when you learn these tips here. Just real quick before we get started, I just wanted to give you guys a reminder. If you guys are looking to learn more about any lake across the country, your favorite lake, a lake you don't know much about, lake you know a lot about, but you want to know more about, go to fishthemoment.com, check out our lake map breakdowns that myself, Matt Steffen, and Johnny Schultz are doing. We got lakes all over the country, all 4 seasons. It's a great resource to learn more about the water you need to and get some good spots and tips and advice on how to approach them. So you can check that out at fishthemoment.com. Okay, guys, let's get into this shaky head deal a little bit here. I'm going to show you guys 2 rigging mistakes that most people make, and I'm going to show you how to correct that to just make yourself more efficient, get more bites, land more fish on them. So anyway, let's go across the first one here. The first one that I'm going to talk about is exactly how you rig the hook in there specifically. So I've got my one of the head I use here, this Davis shaky head. It's one of my favorites. I also like that greenfish shaky head. You guys know if you watched them before, I don't like the shaky heads that have the screw lock. I like the ones you thread on. I think they look better in the water. I think they hook the fish better. So I never use a screw, any type of a screw lock on my shaky head. So the first thing I do, one of the big mistakes that you have with shaky head when you rig it is a lot of people tend to go too far in with the hook. All you have to go in when you're rigging these ones like I do is just about like that, just about 1/8 of an inch. You don't want to go much further than that. If you go any further than that, your worm's not going to lay straight. So we're going to put that on about 1/8 of an inch up like this, and then turn it around so it seats in there real nice. You can see that there. See the little keeper seats it. It's just the perfect amount there. So this is the mistake most people make, guys, is how they hook it. You know, they got their shaky head like this, and most people just take it and they hook it right back in the center of the shaky head like that. So it looks like that. Guys, you do not want to do it like this. This is not how you want to do it. Number one, the bait, you're still going to get bites like this, but you're going to lose a lot of fish because most of the time you're fishing this on light line, you know, anywhere between 6 to 10 pound test line and a medium action rod. So you don't have a lot of power to penetrate this hook point through this plastic here. There's a lot of plastic on this is a 6-inch trick worm. On any type of a 6-inch type worm, you've got a lot of plastic. So what do you want to do is take the hook out and then bunch it up a little bit, and then you want to come all the way through the worm like that, towards like that. Now, if it's a clean bottom, guys, I leave it just like this. Oops. If I don't have a lot of snaggy stuff, I'll fish it just like this. See how much of that hook is pointing out there? You never lose them. When you get a bite, you will get them in. So if I'm fishing like a gravel or small rock bottom or a clean point, something like that, this is how I rig it. I prefer to rig it like this. Now, if I got something a little bit more snaggy, say there's some brush or I'm pitching it around docks or there's some wood in the water, what I do is I take the same thing and I'll pull it back just a little bit, and then I'm barely just going to put the tip of that point, you can see, back in the plastic. So I've already come all the way through here. As you can see that it's already penetrated. All I've got is just a little bit of plastic. When they bite it, you know, this plastic will separate away from there, and you'll get those fish every time like that. So that's the biggest mistake. Once again, guys, never come through and just hook it right in the middle like that. You're going to lose a lot of fish. Okay, now the next one we're going to talk about is matching your shaky head size to the worm you're fishing, because a lot of times what you have is, like I said, on this Davis shaky head here, I put it on the 6-inch trick worm. But if I put it on like a 4-inch Zoom finesse worm, this shaky head becomes too big for the worm. It overpowers it. So when you're downsizing and you're using, you know, something like a 4-inch worm, you've got to go down in size in your jig head. So what I'm going to do is the size reduction that I'm talking about is in the shank, the length of the shank. So you can see the reduction in these two shaky heads. This one is about 1/4 of an inch shorter. So when I come in on a 4-inch worm with the same way, then I'm going to come through there. When I come through there and I've got this thing that's 1/4 of an inch shorter, it actually matches the shaky head better. See, like that? It looks a lot more natural as far as the overall size of it that it comes in there. And this is an important thing because you don't want to do overkill. So say, for example, if I take the same shaky head I had with the 6-inch worm, and I'm going to put the same shaky head back in there like you just saw, this bait, it's too much for it. Overpowers the worm here. You know, it's almost half as long as the worm. So that's the two main thing, guys, right there. Remember, come all the way through your plastic worm with your hook point. Leave your hook point exposed if you can get away with it, or just barely hook it by the skin, and match your length of your shank on your hook to the worm that you're using. Make sure you got a good match there. That's the biggest things two tips I can give you as far as getting more bites and getting them in. Another real quick thing here, I'll give you guys a little shaky head tip, is when you get a bite on a shaky head, a lot of people, you can lose a lot of fish on a shaky head for some reason. I mean, shaky heads are sort of notorious for that. But when you get a bite on a shaky head, guys, one of the things that I found that will really help you out is do not get in a big hurry to set the hook. Usually if I get a shaky head bite and, you know, I'm working the bait and I feel it, I'll let the fish swim maybe 4 or 5 feet with that before I set the hook. And when I set the hook on it, there's no like this. When I set the hook on it, I just lean back and start reeling real fast. And I never let up. I lean back and I start reeling, you know, really, really fast. And I keep reeling until that fish turns in an opposite direction. So I keep reeling that fish all the way to the boat unless they start turning direction. And the whole thing about that is when you're reeling, it's constantly penetrating that hook a little bit more in that fish's mouth, and you don't lose near as many. So anyway, guys, just a few shaky head tips there. I think it'll help you out if you adopt them into your approach. And again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all later.